Hi, hello, I'm Claire Swales and I am the Chief Executive Officer at PAVO, which is Powys Association of Voluntary Organisations. We cover the whole of Powys and we have an office in Llandrindod and in Newtown. Okay, so as Chief Executive Officer, my role is to oversee the running of the organisation. We have a team of around 55 members of staff, and they are involved in different aspects of supporting the voluntary sector in Powys, but also working with our health and social care colleagues around delivering services across the county. So my typical day will be answering emails and attending a range of partnership meetings with health and social care colleagues and with Welsh Government and other colleagues from across Wales. And we could be talking about all range of things, including how the third sector, so your voluntary groups, can contribute towards health and care services in Powys. We talk about volunteering and volunteering offer for young people and adults alike, and try to encourage people into volunteering. One of my favourite parts of my role is hearing the stories from people that my colleagues are supporting, and that can be from supporting people with volunteering. It could be community connectors that are helping people get home from hospital by putting in voluntary support or helping people to stay well at home. But it can also be with our development team, whereby they support people and organisations around how they govern their organisation and deliver services safely. Could be safeguarding or policies, for example. So hearing back from those people that my colleagues are supporting really helps you get on with a day job and makes it really worthwhile to see the difference we're making. Okay, so I used to go to Gwynedd High School, and my children have been to Gwynedd High School as well. And to be honest with you, when I was in school, I wasn't really sure what it was I wanted to do. My grandmother was really against me joining the army, which was one of my ideas. So I actually joined the fire service and became a retained firefighter. And I was the first woman at 18 on the station. So I left school and decided to go and do that and work in the family business. I then went on to work in one of the local schools, providing one-to-one support and also running the out-of-school provision. And then I decided to get into the world of politics, which was really interesting, actually, because it really gave me a good grounding and learning and understanding about the health and social care sector. Many of the questions we were asked in the politicians' offices was around how we needed to improve health and social care services and access to those services, and also supporting people such as nurses and our healthcare workers and our social workers, and trying to change and influence policy at both Welsh Government and national government levels. So that really sparked my interest in health and social care. And I'd also been involved heavily in community and community services. And all of that really wraps together quite nicely. So what we learn in our own community that we live in and how we need to embrace that and improve that really fed into my role in politics, but also into my role then into PAVO, and really trying to make that difference, influence policy and change. So when I did my GCSEs, it was a random bunch of GCSEs for me, really. I took Welsh and I took RE and geography. I wasn't very academic. I decided to do A-levels, but dropped out, as I say, to join the fire service. But it wasn't until later that education played a really important part for me. So when I had my children, I decided to go back to Powys. It was Coleg Powys back in those days. And I did a course around playwork, and I did a course around children's education, learning and development. And then a few years later down the line, when I was a single mum, I decided actually perhaps university was for me. Now, obviously going to university when I had young children was a real difficult option. So I decided to do the Open University. And I decided I really liked the management aspect and the collective and compassionate leadership type approach to health and social care. So that's when I did my degree in business and leadership through the Open University. And actually that was really important to me because my children kind of came along the journey with me. So although I may not have done brilliantly in school, may not have followed the traditional pathway in my education, it didn't mean that that was the end for me. There was options later on in life, which I fully embraced. And that's really helped me to get to where I am today. But I think the other aspect that has played an important part is being part of a community, volunteering, and helping make a change in the community, because that's given me life experiences alongside my education pathway to come into my role as Chief Exec of PAVO. But I think the important message for me is to young people, it's those stepping stones, isn't it, in education? And it might not always go our way for a whole host of reasons, but actually not to give up, because there are other pathways we can take, and sometimes it's not just a straight line. And embracing that with my children who came to my graduation and were, really, really proud of me on that day, and have been really supportive of me applying for this role and getting this role. Even now my daughter, who's 22, says, "Come on, Mum, you can do it," even when I'm having a day when I feel I can't. So so my message really to young people is, whatever you strive to do, there might be bumps along the way, but try not to let that put you off, and don't let people pull you down either. Okay, so I have real passion for my role because of the difference we're making to people on the ground. When I came into the role as Chief Exec, I made a commitment that I would go out across Powys and speak to those third sector and voluntary and charity groups that we're supporting, and individuals, to hear from them firsthand about the work that they're doing on the ground in Powys to make a difference to our lives and to your lives. Just tomorrow, I'm going to visit a group up in Welshpool to talk about the holiday club that they're putting on. Been talking to some of the volunteer groups and just hearing from them and the difference that those charities can make to people's lives really is my driving force, really. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to help that happen. So I'm proud of each and every one of my team for the work that they're doing to support the voluntary sector. I'm proud of the work we're doing with health and social care colleagues as well to support residents, young people and older people across the whole of Powys. And it's those little stories that make the real difference. Enabling somebody to go home from hospital safely because we've brought in some third sector support, or providing some grant funding to that little sports group or the tea and chat group in a community, which means people are less lonely and isolated. That's what really matters to me. As much as I'd like to influence policy and make change at government level, those stories on the ground are vital because they're people's lives. So I think in terms of the kind of person to do this role, you do need to have that passion and drive to make people's lives better, and to make communities better. You need to be holding those values. So we have values here at PAVO called Cheers. It's around collaboration, honesty, excellence, and just really making that difference really to everybody, and being resourceful and resilient. So you need to have those values and uphold your values in whatever role you're going to do. And as Chief Exec, as well as supporting staff and really taking that collective and collaborative, compassionate approach to supporting staff and the wider third sector, it's been able to have a little bit of an analytical brain as well to understand where you're going, to understand the finances and the business planning and the resources you need, whether that's staffing resources or equipment, and to be able to set the direction for the organisation and how we're going to deliver services into the future, because there's always curveballs. So I think the other thing for me is being that resilience comes into it, but being able to adapt, because you never know what you're going to get, quite frankly. And that keeps me on my toes, which I quite like as well. So I would really recommend a role in the voluntary sector. I think, you could get involved straight away, really, by being a volunteer. And we have dedicated officers here in PAVO that can talk to you about volunteering opportunities across the whole of Powys. And if you start to volunteer, you can take up different volunteering opportunities, get a different insight into the world of health and care through that charitable third sector lens. And that might give you an insight as to what you might want to do for your career in the future. But also don't dismiss the voluntary sector as it's just around volunteering, because there are paid roles in the voluntary sector as well. And you can do all manner of things, really. So there's a wide range of third sector organisations supporting health and care. And, you know, I'm sure that there's skills there in our young population that can be really adapted to the third sector and really enhance what the third sector has to offer. So I would welcome a conversation with any of you that are thinking of embarking in a role in the voluntary sector to talk to you more about the roles that are out there and the wide range of opportunities that are on offer.